Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the viewport of the UES horizon, her weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of Earth below. 20 years of service in the United Earth Fleet hadn't prepared her for this moment. First contact with an advanced alien civilization should have been humanity's crowning achievement. Instead, it had become their greatest challenge. The Nexian Empire's massive ships had appeared at the edge of the solar system 6 months ago. Their initial transmission had been civil enough, if condescending. They viewed Earth as nothing more than a primitive world barely worth their notice, useful only for its resources and strategic position. Their ambassador, High Commander Vexthor, had made that abundantly clear during the first diplomatic meeting. "Your species shows potential," he had said, his crystalline face refracting light in mesmerizing patterns. "But you are centuries behind true civilization. Accept your place as a protectorate of the Nexian Empire, and we will guide your development. Resist, and we will simply take what we want." Chen's fists clenched at the memory. The Nexians had no idea what humanity had achieved in secret, while they showcased their outdated fusion drives and basic particle weapons to the aliens. Earth's best minds had been working on something revolutionary. "Admiral," Lieutenant Rivera's voice broke through her thoughts. "Dr. Patel is ready for you in Lab Zero." Chen nodded, turning away from the viewport. Lab Zero was humanity's best-kept secret, buried deep beneath the lunar surface. Even most of Earth's leadership didn't know it existed. Only those directly involved in Project Quantum Veil had clearance to know its true purpose. The shuttle ride to the moon was brief, thanks to the inertial dampeners developed 5 years ago. Another innovation they'd kept hidden from the Nexians. Chen made her way through the labyrinth of security checkpoints, finally emerging into the vast chamber that housed humanity's greatest achievement. Dr. Anjali Patel stood before a massive holographic display, her dark eyes tracking streams of quantum data. She turned as Chen approached, a rare smile crossing her face. "It's ready, Sarah. The final tests exceeded our expectations." Chen stepped closer to the display, studying the complex mathematical models that represented humanity's salvation. "Show me." Patel gestured, and the hologram shifted to show footage from the latest test. A small prototype ship, no bigger than a fighter, seemed to flicker and phase in and out of reality itself. "The quantum phase drive doesn't just cloak the ship," Patel explained. "It allows it to exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. The Nexians won't be able to detect our ships because they'll literally be operating on a different plane of existence. And weapons? Shields? Even better than we hoped." Patel brought up another simulation. "When phased, our ships can fire without becoming fully visible. Their energy weapons will pass right through us unless we choose to interact with them. We can pick our battles, strike at will, and vanish before they can respond." Chen felt a weight lift from her shoulders. For months, she'd maintained a facade of weakness before the Nexians, playing the part of a primitive military leader struggling to understand their superior technology. All while humanity's true fleet took shape in secret facilities across the solar system. How many ships are ready? 30 capital ships, including the flagship Quantum Dawn. Over 200 fighters, all equipped with phase drives. Patel's expression grew serious. "The Nexians are building up their forces at the edge of the system. Intelligence suggests they're planning to forcibly annex Earth within the month." Chen's jaw tightened. The Nexians had grown increasingly aggressive, their thinly veiled threats becoming outright demands. They saw Earth's apparent lack of resistance as confirmation of their technological superiority. Their pride would be their undoing. "Begin final preparations," Chen ordered. "Transfer all quantum-capable ships to the dark side of Jupiter. When the Nexians make their move, they'll find out exactly how primitive we really are." As she left Lab Zero, Chen thought about the message they'd intercepted just yesterday. High Commander Vexthor, speaking to his superiors. "These humans are barely worth the effort of conquest. Their technology is centuries behind ours. They still think particle weapons are impressive. Taking their world will be trivial. Soon, very soon, the Nexians would learn the cost of underestimating humanity. Chen allowed herself a small smile as she boarded the shuttle back to the horizon. Let them think Earth was weak. Let them believe they held all the cards. The greatest deception in human history was about to pay off, and the Nexian Empire wouldn't know what hit them. The massive Nexian warship emerged from hyperspace like a crystalline dagger, its geometric hull catching starlight in mesmerizing patterns. High Commander Vexthor stood on the command deck, his translucent fingers trailing across the tactical display. Behind him, a flotilla of 300 ships materialized, their weapons primed and ready. "Status report," he commanded, his crystalline voice resonating through the bridge. "Earth's defensive fleet remains in low orbit, Commander. Primitive fusion drives, basic particle weapons. No significant changes since our last survey." Vexthor's faceted eyes narrowed. For months, the humans had maintained the same defensive posture, their outdated ships clustered protectively around their homeworld. It was almost disappointing how easy this conquest would be. Deep within the dark side of Jupiter, Admiral Chen watched the Nexian fleet's arrival on her quantum-encrypted displays. The UES Quantum Dawn hummed with power around her, its phase drive keeping the ship and its crew in a state of quantum uncertainty. 30 similar ships waited nearby, invisible to conventional sensors. "All ships, maintain quantum silence," Chen ordered. "Let them make the first move." Dr. Paddle stood beside her, monitoring the phase drive's performance. "The quantum field is stable across all ships, Admiral. We can maintain this state indefinitely." The Nexian invasion fleet moved with practiced precision, spreading out in a classic encirclement pattern. Their arrogance was evident in their formation. They hadn't even bothered to screen for potential threats beyond Earth's obvious defenses. "Humans," Vexthor's voice boomed across all frequencies. "Your period of grace is over. Submit to Nexian rule immediately, or face the consequences of your defiance." Chen watched as Earth's defensive fleet responded exactly as planned. The outdated ships scrambled in apparent panic, their formations breaking apart under the threat of Nexian superiority. It was a convincing performance by ships crewed entirely by AI. Multiple energy signatures from the Nexian fleet, Lieutenant Rivera reported. "They're charging weapons." "Let them fire first," Chen ordered. "Let them commit fully to the attack." Vexthor watched with satisfaction as his ships opened fire. Brilliant beams of energy lanced out, catching several human vessels. The primitive shields crumbled instantly, the ships breaking apart in spectacular explosions. "Pathetic," he muttered. "They didn't even attempt to improve their defenses after our first contact." A junior officer approached, his crystalline form vibrating with excitement. "Commander, the humans are broadcasting a surrender plea." "Of course they are." Vexthor's face fractured in what passed for a smile among his kind. "Send in the first wave. Begin landing operations for." "Commander." Another officer interrupted, his voice sharp with alarm. "Energy spike detected. Massive quantum fluctuations near Jupiter." Vexthor spun toward his tactical display, but it was already too late. The space around his fleet seemed to ripple and twist as 30 warships suddenly phased into existence. Their sleek hulls gleamed with an otherworldly sheen, quantum energy crackling across their surfaces. "By the crystal throne," Vexthor whispered. "What is this?" Admiral Chen's voice cut across all channels, calm and clear. "This, High Commander, is humanity's real fleet. You wanted to see our true technology. Allow us to demonstrate." The quantum fleet opened fire. But unlike conventional weapons, these beams seemed to phase in and out of reality itself. They bypassed Nexian shields completely. The quantum phased energy finding gaps in dimensional space that shouldn't have existed. Nexian ships began exploding as their crystal hulls shattered, unable to withstand attacks coming from multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Their return fire passed harmlessly through the human vessels, which shifted between quantum states faster than the Nexians could track. "Impossible." Vexthor slammed his fist on his command console. "These primitives, They couldn't have developed this technology. We've been watching them for years. That's the thing about humans, Commander. Chen's voice held a note of satisfaction. We're very good at keeping secrets when we need to. The quantum fleet moved with devastating efficiency, their phase drives allowing them to appear and disappear at will. They struck from impossible angles, their weapons ignoring the laws of physics as the Nexians understood them. What had seemed like an easy conquest was rapidly becoming a slaughter. All ships, battle formation Delta. Vex Thor ordered desperately, concentrate fire on their flagship. But there was no flagship to target. The human ships existed in a state of quantum uncertainty, appearing solid only long enough to fire their weapons before shifting back into their phased state. Traditional targeting systems were useless against an enemy that could choose which laws of physics to obey. In the space of 20 minutes, a third of the Nexian fleet had been destroyed without landing a single effective hit on the human ships. The mighty invasion force that had arrived with such confidence was now in complete disarray. Admiral, Lieutenant Rivera reported, the Nexians are attempting to retreat. Their remaining ships are charging their hyperdrives. Chen nodded. Let them go. They need to report back to their empire. Let them tell their leaders exactly what happens when they underestimate humanity. As the surviving Nexian ships flowed into hyperspace, Vex Thor stared at the debris field that had once been his mighty fleet. His crystalline face was cracked with stress fractures, a sign of extreme emotional distress among his kind. Send word to the Imperial Council, he ordered, his voice hollow. The humans, they are not what we thought. They have mastered quantum phase technology, and they have been waiting for us to make exactly this mistake. The humans had not just defended themselves, they had revealed a technological advancement that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. And they had done it with a level of strategic deception that left Vex Thor questioning everything he thought he knew about these primitives. As his ship limped into hyperspace, he couldn't help but wonder, what other secrets were the humans hiding? The Nexian Imperial Council chamber was in chaos. Crystalline beings of various hues and formations argued violently, their bodies refracting light in agitated patterns. At the center of the chamber, a hologram showed the devastation of their invasion fleet. Supreme Overseer K'tal, his ancient crystal form towering over the others, raised a hand for silence. The humans have deceived us all. They are not the primitives we believe them to be. High Commander Vex Thor, explain how this happened. Vex Thor stepped forward, stress fractures still visible across his face. The humans concealed their true technological capabilities, Supreme Overseer. They developed quantum phase technology in secret while maintaining a facade of primitive development. Impossible. Another council member shattered in rage, reforming instantly. Our spies monitored their research facilities, their military installations. We saw nothing of this technology. Meanwhile, aboard the UES Quantum Dawn, Admiral Chen was reviewing the battle data with Dr. Patel. The quantum drive's performance had exceeded all expectations, but both women knew the Nexians wouldn't stay defeated for long. They're adapting already. Patel pointed to a series of sensor readings. The surviving ships were scanning our quantum signatures. They'll try to develop countermeasures. Chen nodded grimly. How long? Hard to say. Their crystalline technology is unlike anything we've encountered. They process information differently than we do. But they're not the only ones who can adapt. A flash of light interrupted them as Lieutenant Rivera's hologram appeared. Admiral, urgent news from our deep space sensors. The Nexians are mobilizing their entire home fleet. Over 1,000 ships, including something massive. At least 10 times the size of their standard dreadnoughts. The Nexian Imperial Council had reached the same conclusion. Supreme Overseer K'tal's voice resonated through the chamber. We will deploy the Crystal Arc. Its quantum resonance cannons should be able to disrupt their phase technology. The Crystal Arc has never been tested in actual combat, one council member warned. Its power requirements are enormous. We have no choice, K'tal declared. The humans have shown themselves to be far more dangerous than we imagined. If they master quantum phase technology fully, they could threaten the entire empire. We must crush them now, while we still can. Back on Earth, the United Earth Council had convened an emergency session. Chen addressed them via quantum-encrypted hologram. The Nexians are coming back, and this time they're bringing everything they have. But we've learned something crucial from our first engagement. Their crystalline technology has a fundamental weakness. It's highly sensitive to quantum resonance. Dr. Paddle stepped forward. We've modified our phase drives to exploit this weakness. Instead of just shifting between quantum states, we can now create controlled quantum feedback loops. When properly tuned, these loops could shatter their crystalline structures at a subatomic level. One council member leaned forward. "What's the catch?" "Power," Chen replied. "To generate a feedback loop strong enough to affect their entire fleet, we'd need more energy than all our ships combined can currently produce. Unless," Paddle interjected, her eyes gleaming with inspiration, "we use their own power against them. That massive ship they're bringing, if it's as powerful as our sensors suggest, we might be able to turn its energy signature back on itself." The plan was audacious, perhaps even desperate. But as Chen looked at the tactical displays showing the approaching Nexian armada, she knew they were out of options. The crystal arc emerged from hyperspace first, its massive crystalline form dwarfing everything around it. The rest of the Nexian fleet followed, spreading out in a complex three-dimensional formation that would have been impossible for less advanced ships to maintain. "So much for subtlety," Chen muttered. She opened a channel to the quantum fleet. "All ships, execute Operation Resonance. Remember your training. Stay in quantum flux until the exact moment. We'll only get one shot at this." The human ships phased into existence around the Nexian fleet, but this time something was different. Instead of attacking immediately, they began emitting complex patterns of quantum energy, creating overlapping fields of resonance. On the Crystal Ark's command deck, Supreme Overseer Kull realized too late what was happening. Their quantum signatures, they're matching our crystal frequency, shut down the main reactor. But the Crystal Ark's enormous power core was already spinning up, its energy feeding into the quantum resonance field the humans had created. The crystalline structure of the massive ship began to vibrate, then crack. "All ships, full power to quantum drives," Chen ordered. "Push that feedback loop to maximum." The space around the Nexian fleet lit up with impossible colors as quantum energy cascaded through their formation. Crystal ships began to shatter, their atomic structures torn apart by their own resonating energy signatures. The Crystal Arc, intended to be the Nexians' ultimate weapon, became instead the focal point of their destruction. Its massive power core, unable to contain the quantum feedback, imploded in a spectacular display of multidimensional energy. In the Imperial Council chamber, the holographic feed went dead. The assembled council members stood in stunned silence, watching as their greatest fleet was systematically destroyed by the very primitives they had dismissed so recently. The battle lasted less than an hour. When it was over, the once mighty Nexian armada was reduced to crystalline debris drifting through space. The quantum fleet had suffered losses, but they had achieved something unprecedented. They had broken the back of an empire that had dominated this sector of space for centuries. Admiral Chen stood at her viewport once again, watching the last remnants of the Nexian fleet flee into hyperspace. "Send word to the council," she ordered. "The Nexians will be back, eventually. But next time, we'll be ready for them. Humanity is done hiding its strength. In the depths of Nexian space, beneath the crystalline surface of their throne world, Supreme Overseer Kull descended into a forbidden vault. Ancient warnings were etched into the walls in languages so old even the Nexians had forgotten how to read them. But desperation had a way of overwhelming caution. "Are you certain about this, Supreme One?" A scientist named Vekra followed close behind, his crystalline form dimmed with concern. "The Void Seed was sealed away for good reason. Our ancestors warned. Our ancestors never faced extinction at the hands of primitives. Catal interrupted. His fractured form still hadn't fully healed from the psychological trauma of watching the Crystal Ark's destruction. The humans leave us no choice. The vault door dissolved at Catal's touch, revealing a single floating object, a perfect sphere of absolute darkness that seemed to drink in light itself. The Void Seed. On Earth, celebrations of the victory were cut short by troubling news. Dr. Patel burst into Admiral Chen's office, her usual composed demeanor shaken. "The quantum sensors are detecting something impossible," she said, pulling up a holographic display. "Look at these readings." Chen studied the data, her expression growing grave. "That can't be right. These energy signatures, they're negative. Something is consuming space itself out there," Patel explained. "And it's spreading. The Nexians have activated some kind of ancient technology, something that operates on principles we've never seen before." The Void Seed's power spread through the Nexian fleet like a cancer, transforming their crystalline ships into something darker, more terrible. Where once their vessels shimmered with light, now they absorbed it, becoming silhouettes cut from the fabric of reality itself. Catal watched from his flagship as the transformation took hold. The pain was excruciating. Every crystal being in the fleet could feel their structure being fundamentally altered by the Void Seed's power. But the results were undeniable. Their weapons no longer fired energy beams, but rather streams of concentrated void that annihilated everything they touched. "The humans think they understand quantum mechanics." Catal's laugh was hollow. "Let them face the anti-existence itself." The corrupted Nexian fleet moved with terrible purpose, but this time they didn't attack Earth directly. Instead, they began systematically destroying human colonies and outposts, their void weapons leaving perfect spheres of nothingness where stations and planets had once been. "They're not just destroying targets," Rivera reported, showing footage of the attacks. "They're erasing them from existence. Nothing survives, not even subatomic particles." Chen watched the recordings with mounting horror. Their quantum phase technology, so effective before, seemed useless against weapons that negated existence itself. Ships that tried to phase away from the void beams simply disappeared. Their quantum states collapsed into absolute nothing. "There has to be a weakness," Chen insisted, turning to Patel. "Everything has a counterpoint, a way to be defeated. What are we missing?" Patel had been working around the clock, studying the void phenomena. "The Nexians aren't immune to it," she said finally. "Look at their ships. They're being consumed from within. They're sacrificing themselves to power these weapons." "That's it." Chen slammed her hand on the desk. "They're using anti-existence, but they still have to exist themselves to control it. If we could force them to fully commit to either state," understanding dawned in Patel's eyes, "we'd modify the quantum drives again. Instead of creating uncertainty between states, we force quantum collapse. Make them choose. Exist or don't exist. They can't maintain both." The plan was dangerous, perhaps suicidal. They would need to get close to the void ships, close enough to affect their quantum state directly. And if anything went wrong, entire ships and crews would be erased from existence. "We'll need volunteers," Chen said softly. "No one will be ordered on this mission." The response overwhelmed her. Every quantum ship crew volunteered, understanding the stakes. If they failed, Earth would face not just defeat, but complete elimination from reality. The final confrontation took place in the Proxima Centauri system. The Void Fleet had been moving methodically, destroying everything in its path. But humanity had one advantage. The Nexians' need to maintain their existing form, while wielding anti-existence made them predictable. "All ships, execute Operation Quantum Lock," Chen ordered. "Remember, timing is everything. Too early, and they'll avoid the effect. Too late, and we all cease to exist." The quantum fleet engaged the void ships in what would later be called the Battle of Existence. Human vessels deliberately phased into synchronized states with their targets, forcing the corrupted crystal beings to confront the fundamental paradox of their situation. The void weapons began to falter as their wielders struggled with the forced quantum collapse. Ships started to flicker, their crews unable to maintain the delicate balance between existence and void. "It's working," Rivera shouted. "Their fleet is destabilizing." But Cthulhu wasn't finished. In desperation, he ordered the void seed itself brought to the battlefield. The ancient artifact pulsed with impossible darkness, threatening to consume everything around it. "If we cease to exist," Cthulhu declared, "we take the humans with us." Chen watched the void seed emerge on her tactical display. They had anticipated this final gambit, prepared for it. Every human ship activated their quantum drives simultaneously, creating a massive forced collapse field. The result was spectacular. Caught between absolute existence and non-existence, the void seed itself began to unravel. The Nexian ships connected to it were pulled in, their corrupted crystalline forms shattering as reality reasserted itself. When it was over, the void fleet was gone. Not destroyed, but rather collapsed into a quantum state that could no longer interact with normal spacetime. They had become cosmic ghosts, neither fully existing nor fully void. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Quantum Dawn, watching the last traces of void energy dissipate. The victory had come at a heavy cost. Several human ships had been lost in the quantum collapse, their crews making the ultimate sacrifice to save Earth. But they had done more than just survive. They had faced an enemy wielding the power of anti-existence itself, and through human ingenuity and determination, they had found a way to triumph. The message to the galaxy was clear. Humanity would not be erased. 3 months after the Battle of Existence, Admiral Chen stood before the assembled representatives of 17 alien civilizations in the newly constructed Terran embassy. The quantum victory over the Nexian Empire had sent shockwaves through the galaxy, transforming humanity from perceived primitives to a force that demanded respect. "The Nexian Empire's aggression has been stopped," Chen addressed the gathering, her voice carrying across the chamber. "But their legacy of dominance has left many worlds vulnerable. Earth extends an offer of partnership to all peaceful civilizations. We will share our quantum phase technology with those who pledge to use it for defense, never conquest." In the audience, representatives from worlds long oppressed by the Nexians murmured in surprise. Such technology sharing was unprecedented, especially from a civilization that had just proven its military superiority. Dr. Patel, standing beside Chen, activated a holographic display showing the principles of quantum phase technology. "We developed this in secret because we had to," she explained. "But secrecy breeds fear, and fear leads to conflict. It's time for a new approach." On the ruins of the Nexian throne world, Vectra stood among the shattered crystals of what had once been the Imperial Council chamber. He had survived the Battle of Existence by choosing not to participate in the Void Seed Gambit, and now he led what remained of his people. "We thought ourselves supreme," he addressed the surviving Nexians. "We looked at younger races and saw only primitives to be conquered or destroyed. That arrogance led us to unleash forces we barely understood, corrupting our very nature in a futile attempt to maintain dominance." The assembled crystal beings resonated with shame and acceptance. The human victory had shattered more than their fleet. It had broken centuries of cultural superiority and forced them to confront their own failings. Back on the Quantum Dawn, Lieutenant Rivera brought Chen a report that made her eyes widen. "Confirmed activity at the edge of the Void Seed collapse zone," he said. "Something's emerging." The quantum sensors detected it first, ships beginning to phase back into normal spacetime. But these weren't the corrupted void vessels they had faced in battle. These were ancient vessels, some predating the Nexian Empire itself, their designs unlike anything humanity had encountered. A transmission reached the Quantum Dawn, speaking in multiple languages simultaneously. "We are the predecessors," the message began. "We who sealed ourselves away when the younger races began to discover the dangerous powers we had locked away. The humans' mastery of quantum mechanics has proven they are ready for what comes next." Chen and Paddle exchanged glances. What comes next? Chen asked. The galaxy faces threats far greater than imperial ambition, the predecessor voice continued. In your battle with the Void Seed, you demonstrated not just technological prowess, but wisdom in how you used it. You chose to share knowledge rather than hoard it, to defend rather than conquer. The predecessor ships, gleaning with technologies far beyond even humanity's quantum advances, took up formation around Earth's fleet. We offer an exchange, they said. We will share with you the true secrets of quantum science, knowledge that makes your current understanding seem primitive. In return, you will help us prepare the galaxy for what approaches from intergalactic space. Deep space sensors activated, showing something massive moving between the galaxies. Not ships or fleets, but something that defied conventional understanding. The threat that had caused the predecessors to hide themselves away eons ago was returning. The Void Seed was but a fraction of the powers that exist in this universe, the predecessors explained. What comes next will test not just humanity, but all sapient life. You have proven yourselves worthy successors to our legacy. Will you help us unite the galaxy against what approaches? Chen looked at her crew, seeing the same determination in their eyes that had carried them through the Nexian War. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged stronger. They had overcome impossible odds through innovation and courage. Now they were being offered the chance to help save not just Earth, but all intelligent life. We accept, Chen replied. But on one condition, we do this together, as equals. No more empires, no more dominance. If we're going to face this threat, we do it as a united galaxy. The predecessor ships pulsed with approval. You understand already. This is why you were chosen. As the human and predecessor fleets merge, beginning the exchange of knowledge that would transform both civilizations, Chen reflected on how far humanity had come. From being dismissed as primitives to becoming the force that would help unite the galaxy against an existential threat, all because they had refused to accept limitations, had dared to innovate in secret, and had chosen wisdom over pure power. The next chapter of human history was beginning, and this time, they wouldn't face it alone. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, as if acknowledging the dawn of a new era, one where humanity's greatest strengths would help forge a future for all intelligent life. In the end, it hadn't been just quantum technology that had saved humanity. It had been their creativity, their determination, and most importantly, their ability to look beyond victory to see a better path forward. The legacy of stars beckoned, and humanity was ready to answer its call.